Welcome back. One of the three convicts in the missing Joshlin Smith trial, Steveno van Rhyn, is set to apply for leave to appeal his life sentence. Joshlin Smith's mother, Kelly Smith, her boyfriend, Jacquen Appollis, and van Rhyn were all convicted of kidnapping and human trafficking in relation to the little girl's disappearance. Yesterday, Judge Nathan Erasmus also imposed life sentences on all three for human trafficking and another 10 years for kidnapping. As you know, Newzroom Afrika's Nasiphi has been following this case for some time. It's been a year and a few months now, Nasiphi, and it is far from over in a way with this looming appeal by one of the convicted. But let's talk about the trial itself, Nasiphi. Shall we start at the trial, or shall we start at that moment in February when we realized that Joshlin Smith had gone missing and that the people who had reported her missing, when police realized they were hiding something?
Well, Michelle, what I'll say is that the journey for Newzroom Afrika started on the 27th of February when we traveled all the way from Cape Town, close to 2 hours, to this coastal town of Saldanha. One thought that it will be a straightforward story where one interviews the parents, the family, as far as the disappearance of Joshlin. At the time, there were a number of media houses that already jumped on the story. And when we arrived in Saldanha, unfortunately for us, we were unable to speak to the mother, Kelly Smith, now starting her life imprisonment sentence for human trafficking and kidnapping of her own daughter with her two accomplices. And one didn't realize on the 27th of February the magnitude of the story, and that Joshlin would be the rallying cry for missing children, but also for the face of human trafficking and uniting this very tight-knit community that remains broken nearly 16 months later. And when we arrived, many suspected the mother having possibly have had a hand in the disappearance of her daughter. And we'll go back to the initial stages of the trial, which was the testimony by several police officers, including one of the first responders, Constable Yanga Gongota, who highlighted the demeanor of the mother and the lack of empathy and care that she displayed that night when they responded to a missing person inquiry in Middle Pos that evening, when, or rather during load shedding, going to various homes looking for Joshlin, including the boyfriend to Kelly Smith, Jacquen Appollis. And the constables are saying that when they arrived or they found Jacquen Appollis, Kelly seemed relieved and more excited and relieved that they had found Jacquen, and not inquiring about her missing daughter well after 8 o'clock.
Yeah, and there was that infamous statement that police testified that she made on a number of occasions, saying that Joshlin had made her famous.
We were all shocked when we heard the statement initially, but I think it was about 3 people that testified that repeated the statement. It started, or rather we had heard it from the station commander of Saldanha police station. Captain Lombard, who was the investigating officer, repeated it on several occasions, including a TikToker that also formed part of the search team, that the mother's behavior and demeanor was concerning, but her utterances was what actually blew people away, that she believed that her daughter was making her famous, and for the longest time she had always wanted to be famous and didn't realize that it would indeed be missing Joshlin Smith that would be putting her at the center of the spotlight.
And at what stage then, Nasiphi, and with what evidence did police then take the next step to arrest not only Kelly Smith but her 2 co-accused?
If you remember, Michelle, the mounting pressure that police were feeling during the disappearance of Joshlin, even days after, the number of resources that were deployed, but also the misinformation and the interference from outside individuals. And police were working at the time with the various community members and structures that were searching for Joshlin, with them having an ear on the ground, able then to assist the police in looking in the right direction. And it was only about after 2 weeks following the disappearance of Joshlin where police made a breakthrough, arresting 4 individuals, a shock for many, however, for some in the community, saying that they were not surprised. They suspected the mother and the boyfriend, Jacquen Appollis, seeing that they were behaving quite strangely. And alongside the mother and Jacquen Appollis is Steveno van Rhyn, who's also currently serving his sentence. And at the time, police had arrested a woman from the Middle Post community that lived not too far from the home of Joshlin. However, after her second court appearance, police the prosecution dropped charges against her, saying that there was insufficient evidence against her to continue with prosecution. And weeks later, we then saw the arrest of Laurentia Lombard, who turned out to be key state witness in this particular matter, where she was the one that detailed to police officers the elaborate plan to sell Joshlin for 20,000 rand to a sangoma because of her distinct blue eyes and her beautiful skin. And as the court proceedings in the lower court of Vredenburg continued last year, it was then the state started to piece together their case and also the puzzle, revealing that this elaborate plan to sell Joshlin did not just start, or rather the ball didn't just start rolling in 2024. However, it had been communicated by the mother of Joshlin in August of 2023 to a gentleman called Stephen Coetzee, who also played as an instrumental witness for the state, who also detailed his account with Kelly one morning on August of 2023, how she communicated that she had plans to meet up with individuals to sell her daughter, or rather children, and that in a few months' time, between January or February, the community or the sleeping community of Middle Post or Saldanha would turn into a movie scene. And boy, did it turn into a movie scene with the residents from far and wide concerned about this little girl that has gone missing, searching for her tirelessly. And we even saw people coming and traveling all the way from Cape Town to form part of the searches and looking for Joshlin. And Michelle, we know that nearly 16 months in, police are still continuing with the investigation. Just yesterday, Lieutenant General Patekile, the Provincial Commissioner of the Western Cape, saying that they will not rest until they close the missing person inquiry, looking into Joshlin and locating her and reuniting her with her loved ones.
Really devastating to see some of the images we're showing our viewers while you're speaking, Nasiphi, of what looks like an incredibly happy child who was well taken care of by those around her. It really is harrowing, and it is a story that has torn apart the community in Saldanha Bay, isn't it?
The community of Saldanha has been torn, and speaking to them, it seems that they will not heal anytime soon. And one would say that time heals all wounds, but speaking to them, it does not seem like it is the case. They say that justice and the journey to healing will only be when Joshlin is found. And for the longest time, we've seen the beautiful face of Joshlin plastered everywhere, social media, on our TV screen, including front pages of newspapers. However, for the longest time, we have not heard Joshlin. And this week, building up to sentencing, which was handed down by Judge Nathan Erasmus at the Western Cape High Court, sitting in Saldanha, we finally got to hear the voice of little Joshlin, her laughing and her learning how to count. We also heard from Natasha Andrews, or rather the Andrews family, who had intended to adopt Joshlin just months after she was born in 2018, that their house is no longer the same. And their hearts are, or rather their emotions, they've been crippled by emotions and pain. Going as far as saying that her extended siblings, that is her siblings, are unable to comprehend that she has disappeared or vanished into thin air for so long. And they now look at Kelly, the mother of Joshlin, for answers as to what exactly happened to Joshlin or where she might be, as we know that throughout the court proceedings and trial, Kelly has been on numerous occasions placed at the center of the sale of Joshlin, and on numerous occasions also described as the mastermind behind the sale of her daughter for 20,000 rand.
And Judge Nathan Erasmus, in handing down that sentence, Nasiphi, saying that he found no evidence in mitigation of sentence and that none of the convicted people, including Joshlin's mother, Kelly, showed any remorse except for a couple of times at particular moments. It's been a harrowing 16 months, as you say, Nasiphi, but police telling us that their investigation and their search for Joshlin continues. Nasiphi Same, live to us there in the Western Cape.